أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So inshallah we will continue from where we were left last week. Let's start reading from what we discussed last week. If any questions are left from there, we can continue with that. Otherwise, we will continue with the fourth question, which is part of 12th indication. So 12th indication of 13th flash. Let's start reading from there. And looking for a reader. You have it open? No? You do? Okay. So you can read the first three questions from 12th indication. And after that, we can pause. If any comments, questions, we will continue. Otherwise, with the fourth.
12th indication. This consists of 4 questions and answers. First question. How can infinite torment in an endless hell in return for limited sins in a lifetime, in a limited life, be justice? The answer. It was understood clearly in the above indications, and particularly in the 11th, that unbelief and misguidance constitute an infinite crime and are transgression against innumerable rights. Second question. It is said in the Sharia that hell is punishment for actions, but paradise is a divine favor. What is the reason for this? The answer. It is clearly shown in the above indications that with his faculty of will and trifling wishes, man causes awesome destruction and evils by giving form and reality to something non-existent or theoretical. Similarly, since his soul and appetites always incline towards evil and harm, he is responsible for the evils that occur as a result of his trivial wishes. For his soul wanted them and his desires gave rise to them. And since evil pertains to non-existence, the servant is the agent and the Almighty God creates it. Being responsible for the infinite crime, he certainly deserves infinite punishment. However, since good deeds and actions pertain to existence, man's will and wishes cannot be the direct cause of their existence. Man cannot be the true agent in such acts. Also, his evil commanding soul does not tend towards good deeds. It is divine mercy that requires them and dominical power that creates them. Man can only lay claim to them through belief, a wish, or an intention. And having claimed them, such good works consist of thanks for the infinite divine bounties received, such as the gifts of belief and existence. Such thanks looks to past bounties, while paradise is a favor of the most merciful, which, since it has been promised by him, will be given. Apparently, it is a reward, but in reality, it is a favor. That is to say, in evils, the soul is the cause and deserves the punishment, while in good deeds, both the cause and the occasion are from God. Man can only lay claim to them through belief. He may not say, I want the reward, but he may say, I hope for divine favor. Third question. It is understood from the above explanations that since evils multiply through contagion and aggression, a single evil deed should be recorded as 1,000. And since good deeds pertain to existence, they do not multiply, nor do they occur through the servant's creative act or the desires of his soul. They therefore should not be recorded at all or as only 1. So why are evil deeds recorded as 1 and good deeds as 10 and sometimes as thousands? The answer. In this way, Almighty God demonstrates his perfect mercy and the beauty of his compassionateness.
Jazakallah khairan. Any comments, any questions from this part? Any part that we didn't fully cover last week that you feel was not answered properly? Because in a nutshell, I guess as the question was highlighting, hell is punishment for actions, but paradise is divine favor. What is the reason for that? Because I guess the idea would be if hell is a deserved punishment, then paradise should be a deserved reward as well. But why is it said that? Or if paradise is favor, then hell shouldn't be like a deserved punishment, but rather some sort of a torture, like unjust fall. Why am I owning one and not the other? Why, if I do something wrong, I own my wrong, but if I do something good, I don't own it? Like, why is there this disparity? This was the question.
I have a question or maybe a comment I can say. This sounds like little controversial to me because, it's, having or, getting a paradise is a kind of divine favor. So how this affects the, fairness of, God or Allah. So maybe, thinking from this perspective, how that affects the fairness of God or Allah, maybe we can, maybe we don't calculate something like hidden to man, but barely open for God. For instance, intentions. Maybe when we consider about intentions, ihlas, and other, unobservable deeds, maybe it's just, so, clear for God, for Allah, but not for clear, not clear for, man or human. When we read, it sounds like, this affects, the concept of fairness of God. So, what do you think?
I guess we can extend this to, is it even hidden from yourself, like your sincerity? And forget about others, like never mind what Muhammad thinks about your intentions and whatnot, but you know why you did something. So with the purest of intentions and whatever, you did something good. You just smiled at Muhammad with purest intentions, and you're not going to be rewarded for this smile. Or at least this is what we understand from here. So you're going to be given divine favor for doing this nice act, but it's not going to be, oh, you did something good, 5 points. You wouldn't deserve this 5 points. It's going to be out of. But if you frown at him out of some ill will, you're going to be punished for that. And you know what's going on in you, to the extent that you know it. Last week we discussed this a little bit. Any answers from last week that anybody wants to share? Ahmed, what do you think? Did you get the answer from last week, or we left something unanswered? Okay. We need to go over it again? Okay. Mohammed has something to say there? Okay.
I think that there's multiple examples that we can discuss when we are. So when we are reciting Quran, maybe Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, even with our understanding of how we are rewarded for reciting the Quran, not with just reciting the whole sentence, not even a word, for every alphabet, for every letter that we recite, we can get up to or more than 700-fold multiplied. Even for our standards, I don't think that we deserve that much reward. And you can discuss any other good deeds that we can do as Muslims, and comparing the reward that we get from doing this good deed, I don't think that we deserve all of this reward. So I think that it's a favor from Allah, and Allah is generous to us to give us this reward and paradise. It's my understanding.
Okay. All right, good. You're good. You're good. It's just $200, so that's so. And online, there's also an online question, Sister Zareen or Brother Nibras or both. They're asking. Okay, so the question is similar to the brother's question. How does divine favor align with justice? Related to the third question, if I do not deserve the favor, then how is the multiplication of good deeds just? Okay, this is another question. Like if is making a favor unjust? I think this is a separate second question. Is doing a favor unjust? But before coming to this question, the major question that we are dealing at this point is, can I claim that I rightfully received this? Okay, so two things, two separate questions. So now we have two-tier question. The first one is, let's say I look after your little Ali, and then at the end I'm handing him back over to you, and I expect a thank you. This is something that I deserved. If you tell me thank you, I would say, and if you don't tell me thank you, I would say how rude of a person you are. If you tell me thank you, I would say, well, yeah, of course, I mean, I did something for him and he thanked me. Of course, I mean, this is something I earned. It was my right. But this, in the second question, and there are references to hadith here, and also a reference to a verse in Quran. But the question is more general, saying it's said in Sharia that hell is punishment for actions, meaning you deserved it. But paradise is a divine favor, meaning you didn't deserve anything, which further means you shouldn't be feeling like I did something nice. Like I am good. I got some value. I'm more valuable now. Does this make sense? So the ownership of some sort of self-value, self-worth. So in a sense, it's saying that you have no self-worth, even if you do something good. It doesn't increase you in any shape or form. Because I feel like I am increasing in goodness if I look after your child. So now I am getting a better man. This is why you should thank me. But that's not the case. That's what it is saying. That's the first question. The second question is the follow-up question from Sister Zareen. So Sister Zareen needs to follow up with this question. What she's asking is, okay, let's assume what you're saying is correct. Then Creator favoring me with multiples, isn't it unjust? This is a separate secondary question. Okay. Okay. For the first one, let's go through the text then and try to identify if the answer is there. And I'll be expecting you guys to take out the answer from the text itself. Let's try to see how the author is approaching it. Because bits and pieces, we have answers from our background and whatnot. Let's try to focus how author is approaching the problem. So it's clearly shown in the above indications that with his faculty of will and trifling wishes, man causes awesome destruction and evils by giving form and reality to something non-existent or theoretical. This was, I guess this goes back to 6-7 weeks ago. Similarly, since his soul and appetites always incline towards evil and harm, he is responsible for the evils that occur as a result of his trivial wishes. For his soul wanted them, and his desires gave rise to them. And since evil pertains to non-existence, the servant is the agent, and Almighty God created. Being responsible for the infinite crime, he certainly deserves infinite punishment. We will need to revisit this part, but let me read the rest again. However, because I feel like the second part is easy to handle. So let's first take care of the second part. However, since good deeds and actions pertain to existence, man's will and wishes cannot be the direct cause of their existence. Man cannot be the true agent in such acts. Also, his evil commanding soul does not tend towards good deeds. It is divine mercy that requires them, and dominical power that creates them. Man can only lay claim to them through belief, a wish, or an intention. And having claimed them, such good works consist of thanks for the infinite divine bounties received, such as the gifts of belief and existence. Such thanks looks to past bounties. Such thanks looks to past bounties, while paradise is a favor of the most merciful, which, since it has been promised by him, will be given. Apparently it's a reward, but in reality, it's a favor. So, he's making a fundamental statement about existence and non-existence. So, as a very simple example, well, let me see what you think first before I give an example and drag you what I think about it in the direction that I think. Let's see what you think.
So if our soul is always inclined towards, so like it says here, also his evil commanding soul does not tend towards good deeds. Like it's always inclined towards bad deeds. So if it's inclined there and we choose not to, like we use the will not to do those deeds, then I think we're making, like we're involved in that decision somehow. Like if I'm choosing not to do a bad thing, then they're like, if something comes to me out of that, then it should be a deserved reward because I made the effort not to do the bad deeds.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having a very hard time connecting it to existence on how he's talking about like how all evil is out of non-existence and goodness existent that way. It has to be from above.
Okay.
That's what I don't understand.
Okay. What else do we have? Comments?
I guess I thought the same as you did for the first part, but then the way I understand that existence and non-existent part is that like ultimately, and it's a little confusing still to me, the whole existence versus non-existent or what things pertain to existence versus non-existence. But like we ultimately don't have the power to create anything. So we are involved in the decision, and I think that that's the good deed, just as you said, because our souls are inclined for harm. So it is a good deed to go against yourself, but ultimately what comes out of that intention is not by you. So in that sense, I'm assuming that that's how we do not deserve the outcome of the action because we didn't really perform any action there pertaining to existence. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, that's where my confusion comes in. Like if you're naturally, like if you're inclined to do bad and you don't do that, then you're doing something there. Like you're going against yourself, and that should deserve some sort of a reward. Like why is still a favor then?
Okay.
Like if, I don't know, weird example, like if a carpenter, the only thing he knows is carpenting, and Allah tells him like, oh, this is something that you cannot do. And then he skips that, like he leaves that, then there should be some sort of reward, not favor. Like he's making an active decision not to do that, when that's all his soul like goes for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, go ahead.
I think that a good point to explain again here would be like how like the good in here is to be expected. Like you do, I think I don't have the perfect example for this, but like I think that there is a reward that we live in the world when we do good things, because that's the thing that we should do, not the like I don't know if that made sense, but like yeah, like there I think that there is still a reward, maybe like in a way that we can interpret it when we do good things, because that's the default. That's what maybe Allah wants us to do.
So in terms of existence, non-existence, this is not, again, we are thinking together. So I'm not claiming that this is going to be a bulletproof example. So if there are mistakes, please highlight it. But let's say if I'm a captain and I am just, I don't know, is it called driving? Let's call it driving, sailing, steering. Okay, steering a ship. But like human is lazy. I have an inclination to be lazy. And laziness doesn't require anything. It's just inaction, like not taking any action. Okay, this is where I am. And there's this iceberg standing before the ship, but like I'm just being what I am. I'm being lazy, and I'm not taking action. And the ship is going. So far, I have received so much instruction to not crash the ship. And I am also at the moment getting paid to take action. Like it's not that I am taking action. I am taught how to do it. I am giving the means to do it, everything. But I'm just saying, like, what? I didn't do anything. Just the ship went ahead and hit the iceberg, and then the ship sank. So in this case, what's happening? My inaction of taking the responsibility or answering the what I am expected for and what I am paid for. Like I am paid for making the correct choice, but I choose not to make that choice. So I made an inaction. This is why I'm going to be responsible for the outcomes of it. And totally it is choosing wrong in this case simply means not choosing to do the right. Right? I mean, this is why existence, non-existence is being highlighted there. Like Sister Zerrin gave another example. I'm going to read this in a second, but it was a little harder to see the inexistence in there. That's why I am now going with this toy example, very easy toy example. But then if somebody says, oh, you did what you're supposed to do, you really steered the ship to the right and you avoided it, and shall I be rewarded for that? Like I was instructed to do that. All the signals were beeping from here and there. I just did whatever I am paid for. So am I going to be hailed as a hero? I shouldn't be, because I'm already getting paid and everything, like suggestion came from outside. The means came from outside. I just did whatever I was supposed to do at this point. So nothing to claim for myself at this point. What would be wrong is not to do that choice. So I think this is being a little bit of a too simple toy example to explain the point. Sister Zerrin gives another example, says, if I am invited to someone's house and I choose not to steal the owner's money, I guess I don't expect to be thanked for that, since it's a given that I am not the owner. Like in this case, you're coming to this house and there is I don't know, money, and you're choosing not to steal the money. Shall we congratulate you and say that, oh, you deserve this because you didn't steal it? Because in this case, you might have a tendency, again, in terms of, let's say, laziness, to say that, well, there's the shortcut of taking the money without working. But you didn't take this route, but you said, okay, I'm not supposed to steal because you were taught. But again, we need to question, am I taught? Because we do not like, this is the part, I dislike stealing. I am made not to like stealing. How do I know that? Because if somebody steals mine, I don't go and congratulate them. I hate when somebody is stealing from me. So I made to dislike it. This is how, like, even from, maybe Ibrahim is not of that age, but Elena is definitely, like, if you take something from Elena's hand, she will start screaming. Like, she doesn't like somebody taking away her property. Even in this age, she is taught that stealing is not good. It's mine, she would say, right? So we are taught. So shall we congratulate if she keeps whatever is given to her and she keeps it? Shall we say, oh, my daughter is doing good? Or shall we say she's doing whatever she's taught? Like, it's not that she came up with something by herself. She was already taught to preserve her property. So if she were to let go of it, then we would say, you'd not deserve it because you were taught how to protect it. You were given the scream at her age to protect it. You were supposed to choose it because everything is really pointing to the correct answer. And if you don't do it, then you truly deserve the punishment part because this was the part that you neglected. If that makes sense. Yes.
So if we, the same example where you go to someone's house and there's money and you don't steal it, like what, so I feel like this line is throwing me off where he says, since his soul and appetite always inclines towards evil and harm. So if everyone is stealing and you don't, then then you should be rewarded for that.
So,
because again, it's saying everyone's soul are inclined towards evil and harm. So if the chosen few don't do it, then that's how I'm seeing it.
let's try to understand what this might mean. And we are trying to understand it based on ourselves, because really the laboratory of what he's talking about is you and me. Okay. So if he's describing us properly, we will agree with him. If it's not, we will say he's just making it up. Okay. So let's not try to come up with a hypothetical system where we are going to praise God. That's not what we are trying to do. Like, the outcome of this discussion shouldn't be God is just, and because I think he is for whatever reason. And now I'm trying to come up with a good explanation for how this will work out, just to save God from being a bad God or something. Okay? That's not the point. The point is, in here, this should really be describing me, right? So when he says, since soul and appetite always incline towards evil and harm, what does this mean? Like, humans' soul and appetite is inclined towards evil. Do you feel that? What does this mean? Because last week, Sister Sarah was referring to the verse فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, so which is in Surah Shams, where creation of the universe was described, and then eventually it comes to وَالنَّفْسِ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, so by the nafs, by the self, and how it's made. How it's made. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and therefore it was inspired with the good. It's good and it's bad. Like, both two paths were shown to it. And her question last week was, if I am also inspired with the bad, but I'm choosing good, it's okay. I mean, he suggested me to choose the good, and now I'm choosing good, so reward goes to him, fine. But now he's suggesting me to choose the bad, and now I'm choosing bad, and I'm being responsible. Like, what sort of a justice is here, right? So what does this mean then? Yeah, let's try to understand this sentence. That human is inclined to evil, or human's self is inclined to, or has an inclination to evil. What does this mean? For that, I was trying to give the example with the ship. Like, I have an inclination to be lazy. Because evil was described as non-existent so far. When we talk about evil, what comes to our mind is, doing illegitimate relationship, killing someone and whatnot. This is what comes to mind when we say evil, right? But author was describing evil as evil is non-existence. Basis of evil is non-existence. And illegitimate relationship, killing somebody, any of these are evil to the extent that there is non-existence in them. Otherwise, the act itself, like if you kill somebody in the war, it's being a good deed. If you kill somebody in day-to-day activity, it's being like, it's not about the act itself, right? Because killing is not the thing. The thing is something else is going on, right? Or relationship. If it's a certain relationship, it's being bad. If it's in another way, then it's being good. Even worship. So non-existence. So what sort of a tendency does human nafs have when it comes to non-existence? What do you think? Would you agree, checking yourself, that you have a tendency to be lazy? And in this laziness, meaning this inclination not to make a choice, or not to, I guess not to make a choice in and of itself is a choice because you're just being inactive. But I guess in our example is, since, let's try to understand again, I might be wrong, so I want to keep that door open. I am being suggested to steer the ship, and now the choice is either I steer the ship or I don't, meaning I don't do anything, okay? I am being inactive, or I am not taking an action. Is this describing me? This laziness? I think this describes me well. Like, human has this laziness aspect of it. And this laziness aspect looks to human having this tendency to evil. And this is, what can we say about that one in terms of responsibility? Somebody help me. The other microphone, yes. Who wants to? Go ahead.
So I'm thinking of it in this perspective that in our day-to-day lives, we can actually go about our day and see the existence and just ignore it, that it was created by Allah. Or we make an effort to actually see that this is actually a creation. Everything is being created. So that part where we actually have to make an effort, that is something can be seen as a, I don't know, understand about the favor and the reward, but I think it could be seen as a reward. But then going about day to day, that's an evil act, because we are actually ignoring it, ignoring the creation, and we're just thinking everything exists by chance. So that's what I'm actually thinking from that.
Okay. Yes, Sister Shinul.
I'm just thinking out loud here. It says since his soul and appetites, and here I think soul, as you were saying, translated from nefs, which is distinct from what a human being herself is. So for example, if I see a kitten meowing in the rain, and there's a store that has, cat food, like I might feel my nefs might feel lazy of like, oh, instead of just going directly home, I have to go and buy this cat food. But the compassion for that kitten is given. The need to help it is given. The want to help it is given. The joy after helping it and seeing it, let's say, happy, is also given. Like, I'm not creating anything there. My human spirit is, I find my human spirit created in such a way where I want to help it, I enjoy helping it, and the qualities necessary to, let's say, motivate me to help it are also given, right? That compassion, care, ability. And so, yes, there is the nafs element of, and we can talk more about it perhaps, of inclining towards like this alternative option, but to choose that will be to deny what is also not intrinsic, but created part of my as part of my human disposition, right? As part of being what as like you know, forget the kitten, the baby. It would be inhuman, or it would be going actively against what is created within me to not, you know, help feed a crying baby. I'm not creating anything anew there, but in fact just aligning my choices with what my humanness requires of me. And so I can't be like, oh, look, I fed the baby, I'm such a great human being. No, I just simply didn't oppose the creational command that I find already within me. I'm sure that could be better stated, but I think we can also recognize that reality.
Question following this is, in such cases, for example, I think the inclination is to help, right? To do good when there's an inclination or calling for that. Oftentimes we can recognize and like obviously rejecting that does make us feel bad, and that's also another sign that, you know, you're meant to, it's a message that you're meant to be doing good in that moment. But then when it comes to inclination to evil, I'm trying to understand how that's still given, right? Or is it's just like we're created that way? And then this kind of goes back to when we were talking about how active God is in every second, every moment of our lives. Like even when somebody, like a bullet is going through a body, like what does it mean? Frame by frame, God is creating it. I'm having difficulty understanding the inclination to evil. Where is it coming from? Where is my decision being made? I'm trying to track that down in a way. Not to figure out where the responsibility should go, but just trying to understand it in the first place.
Mhm.
Just quickly, because I want to follow up with Zaha's question. I was also having the same, I think I was having the same kind of train of thought that you were thinking, right? Because I feel like being born Westerner, right? I actually feel like most of us are inclined for good. Like I think that everyone has like a moral compass where like we all would feed the baby. We are, you know, instinctively not trying to steal. Now I do understand Arsalan's point, right? Like I do think that we are lazy, like everywhere, right? We try to be neutral, or we try to say like, oh, Allah will forgive me, or stuff like that. So we are inclined to laziness, but I do think that very realistically, we are also inclined for good. So how can those two things exist at the same time?
No, I was just going to say, you know, the fact that the option to commit evil or harm exists is what makes my choice of the good a choice, right? Even though I'm not creating the want to do good or the enjoyment of doing good or the creational command to do good. The alternative has to exist so that it becomes a choice at the end of the day.
Okay, good. So I think we have a good number of questions. Let's try to put pieces together. So one part, still question mark for me. I will take it to there at the end. But let's try to clean up the parts that are at least easier to clean. One of the examples that we talked in the past with multiple choice questions, right? So just to put it as a hypothetical question, and then we will apply it to real life. So a multiple choice question is a teacher teaches you the content of the class, gives you multiple reasoning why this is the correct answer and whatnot, gives you assignments and everything. So he teaches you, well, you had no idea whatsoever about this topic before. Now you take this class and he teaches you everything about the topic. And then to make you understand the topic better, he prepares you a question. And the question has 4 incorrect answers and 1 correct answer, like 5 choice, multiple choice question. So he provides you with wrong options and a correct option as well. Of course, this is an example. So in this case, the teacher doesn't give you the choice, like the power of choice. You are given it, but this is the example part of it. But otherwise, he gives you the choice to choose either one of those 5 choices, right? So in this case, if you choose the correct answer, are you worthy of a reward? I think this is the question now. Because the teacher taught you everything. Everything you have seen in the class was taught by him. Teacher prepared the question. Teacher prepared the wrong options and the right option, both of them for instructional purposes. In a sense, he's pointing towards the correct choice from every angle to say that choose this one. But if I don't choose the right answer, then I'm going to be the person blameworthy because everything was pointing towards it. But I chose the wrong answer, then the teacher would say, come on, like how many times did I mention this to you? Were you not supposed to choose the right answer? If you choose the right answer, would you be worthy for a praise? Because teacher would say, I taught you, I prepared the question. The only thing I didn't do was just put my finger on the correct answer. Like up to everything I did this. Even you can argue that he almost put his finger on the correct answer. But he would say, well, so what? Like you didn't save the world. You just did what you were supposed to do. You were instructed for the whole thing from beginning to end. Now, of course, this is a hypothetical example. Everything seems super clear in here, right? So nobody would argue against this. When it comes to feeding a kitten or looking after a baby, one part that we are having a hard time, which Natalia highlighted, am I being taught that actually it's a good thing to look after a baby? Or I'm a good person inherently that I should look after babies, right? But to the extent I need to check myself, where did this love of children come from? Like there is one of us here who has love of animals more than anybody else, like a vegetarian. So like where does this come from, right? So making this the idea of not harming others and whatnot. So these are feelings that humans are being taught. In Quran's language, it's literally being taught. Adam was taught names, but if you check yourself, you are taught, because like trying not to harm someone means appreciating the merciful creator, appreciating the owner. Not stealing from someone simply means there's an owner of this property which is not you, like Malikul Mulk. Don't steal from the creator. So divine names were taught to you. This is how Quran is explaining it, and it makes sense to me. So in this regard, if I do not steal, or if I feed the baby, can I then say that, but I fed the baby? Like he would say, well, I gave you the feeling of feeding the baby. I gave you the milk with which you're going to feed the baby. Like everything was set up for you to feed the baby. I mean, come on. Like, are you expecting me to just congratulate you for that or give you extra stuff? You just do whatever you were almost forced to do. So everything was pushing you toward this direction so that you did properly. So this is why if you were not doing it, you would be doing something bad. You would be responsible. But if you're doing it, everything was encouraging you to do that. Of course, one can argue still the other side of it, though. Like, I think so far, is it clear? Like, it sounds okay so far, I think, right? But one can argue that, well, how about if I don't do it, though? Because if everything was as easy as you mentioned, then the world should have been a very nice place where everybody just does good and only some weirdos out there is going to do evil. Why do I do evil? Why do we do evil? And are we doing evil totally out of our evilness or some? Where does the choice of evil come from? I think this is where we are. Especially if, like, it's if I go back to our multiple choice question, and I am thinking out loud, by the way, folks. I'm trying to convince myself as well. So don't take this as I have the answer and just dragging it. I'm just thinking on the fly. So with my multiple choice question, if I choose the wrong answer just because I was lazy, or I didn't study properly, I didn't listen to the lecture properly, or I knowingly ignored teacher's instruction, responsibility is on me because I chose not to accept what was being given to me so far. This is why I'm trying to highlight existence, non-existence here. What was existence? The teacher was teaching me something and I choose not to accept it. Is this part clear? Teacher was suggesting me to learn something, to accept it. I choose not to accept it. I didn't take it on myself. This was my mistake. This was evil because this is truly non-existence. Because he was suggesting me existence. In the example, suggesting me mercy, suggesting me to acknowledge his ownership, suggesting me to acknowledge his justice. And I said, no, I don't accept, or I don't care. The problem part, I think, with the text here, or with the verse that Sister Sarah was mentioning, but this inclination towards not accepting it, where does this come from? If I get an inclination to be lazy, where does this inclination come from? What is its role here? And upon whom responsibility falls if I follow this other inclination? Because inclination towards acting merciful towards the child, we say it comes from the Creator. Suggestion came from him, so reward goes to him, or praise goes to him for that. Inclination towards laziness, where does this come from? Yes. Can we get the microphone?
Just hold it.
No, that's good.
Okay. I think that's what it is, right? Because you said when that, the divine knowledge of doing good has been given to us by Allah, or the Creator, rather. So when does that flip over to being lazy or not doing good? You say that human beings are inherently good because that's how God created us. That's how we're created. But then why does evil exist? At some point, past a certain degree of everyone, there's this hubris in human beings. We think that our successes, although foundationally, fundamentally, they are because of the Creator's namat to us. But once we're successful enough, we feel that it is because of our own efforts, and we are the ones deserving of our success.
Mhm.
And so whether it's to choosing to be lazy, could be a multitudes of reasons, right? We can say, you know, I've worked hard enough. I deserve a couple of days off. I deserve to eat a whole pizza by myself. I don't need to go to the gym. I don't need to take care of my body. But when we get sick, we go, oh, no, no, no. This is Allah's ni'mah, and you know, we need to take care of it. So I think that's where it is. It's a mix of nafs. It's but I think it's predicated upon our hubris that when we're younger, when we're in need, when we're not doing very well, we credit Allah for all of the creations and all of the abilities that we have. But once we attain a certain success, attain a certain, you know, status in society, we tend to take the credit to ourselves. And that's what, again, to me, that would be the reason for it.
And in this regard, one thing that then comes to mind is, let's say, if I am gaining some success in workplace, and then my colleague is, I mean, somewhat similar, doing some similar work as much as I do, but my friend got promoted earlier. So this feeling of envy starts kicking in, right? So this, and if I approve this feeling of envy, actually this is also something evil. Why? Because what is the idea behind this feeling of envy? I say, it must have been given to me, not to him. Right? I should have received it, not that person. What's wrong with this feeling? As if I am saying that, actually, this also goes back to Sister Zarin's question, the second tier of the question. Somebody received some favor, but I feel like, no, I deserved that favor, not that person. It was my right. So how is this attitude, for example, is inaction or laziness? Like, I use the term laziness so far, but actually there's some sort of rejection in here. Laziness in the first place was that the person didn't do what he was supposed to do, which is steering the ship. Now, in this case, the person does what? There's a suggestion for this person to say that Ovner is the creator. Sometimes, I mean, I gave the example with the workplace, but it could be that, I guess, since you guys are coming from Indian subcontinent, neighbor's son is always successful. Your mom would say, oh, look how their son is doing good, my son is doing bad and whatnot. There's this internal envy towards there, as if saying that, God, you were supposed to give it to me. Why did you give it to them? Right? This sort of attitude, right? So what's going on in here? I'm actually saying that, no, I was better. I deserved something. It was supposed to be mine. So you're doing some injustice to me. Although this was, again, a multiple choice question in which the suggestion was that I am the owner and you didn't deserve even existing in this life. I gave you this, and to your neighbor's son, I gave you that. Like, these are all favors. I have multiple guests in this house. Let's say I ask one to sit in a high chair, another one to a low chair. And then the one sitting on the low chair says, I should have been sitting on this high chair. How dare you do this to me, right? So is this injustice in this case, or was the person supposed to say that these are all favor and I received, I'm glad that I'm not outside in the cold, I am inside the house, I am given shelter, this other person received a chair, fine for him or her, but I am happy with what I have received. This was supposed to be the case. But what did I do in this case? Where's the laziness? Where's the rejection? I rejected this truth. this is the part. This is the part that I didn't do the steering. Like the steering in this case was supposed to be that when the wrong suggestion comes, I should have said, come on, like I didn't deserve anything in the first place. Nobody owed me anything, but I received something, so I should be thankful for this. This was supposed to be the proper steering that I was supposed to do. But what did I do? I just chose to not accept this truth and go with the other option. Yes. And then Natalia also had a comment. Let's first go with Natalia, then Sister Aisha.
So I was gonna just ask, I guess, if like what I derive from the conversation makes sense. So it's like we're saying that we know the right answer because through creation, Allah teaches us the right answer. But we're also inherently inclined or created inclined to do bad so that we can choose the good and learn from it. Like, is that correct?
I have trouble with the idea that we are inclined to do evil, right? The text says our nafs is inclined towards evil, and I think the nafs is a tool. It's given to us. It doesn't define us as a human being, right? We're also given our human spirit recognizes what is good and what looks to the creator. So what I wanted to just say is just following from the discussion, like even of the laziness, even when I choose to be lazy, I mean, I'm sure all of us can relate to this. I procrastinate on something, or I again choose the alternative of laziness, which is not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I experience agony, right? There's no I imagine it to be comfort or relaxation, but instead I experience agony. When I go against what I am meant to do, and in this instance, what I am created to do, what I find, that's what I'm calling creational command within me, which is, let's say, doing good. When I go against that, I find myself in agony, right? Just as when I procrastinate on something, when I am lazy, I delay something, there's no peace in that. And I think that is an important part of recognizing that even when I am choosing the wrong option or the wrong answer, there is a mercy there saying, hey, this is the wrong option. Because just when I touch fire, my hand burns, and it's teaching me I should not touch the fire. The option of choosing what is against my humanness, evil, laziness, whatever, the discomfort that I experience, let's say I ignore the kitten, I ignore the crying baby, I experience a discomfort that is also given to me, right? I'm also a recipient of that same education that is constantly pushing me towards aligning my human choices and my actions with also what my creator is teaching me to do, right? So on all fronts, there's education. I don't think we can escape that, but that education is always given mercifully. So I think we can recognize that, and I'm not sure, again, what the original text says in terms of inclination, maybe mad is, yeah. But the option to do otherwise has to exist so that I can recognize where my human spirit finds peace, right? And again, I don't create that peace, but I also find it given alongside it. Anyways, I'll leave it to that one.
Okay, Abdurrahman.
I think like just like some thoughts maybe I can share. For the inclination to evil part, it also sounds weird, but I think the way Nursi is saying, if I take it from his, the way he's defining evil, evil is non-existence, and then we're saying the nafs and desires are inclined to evil. It almost seems that it's almost like by definition that the nafs, which almost sees itself as independent, wants to see itself as independent. The desires wants to kind of see itself as independent. It almost sees that it would be inclined to non-existence or evil, like this non-existence idea that I am in an independent being. So maybe one way to understand that is like the nefs or desires are inclined to evil because, or I'm inclined to evil because I have this thing inside of me which seems to always want to think it is independent. One way, maybe I can understand how it means to be inclined to evil. But going to like what Adil and you had said, which I think resonated a lot, was about hubris and saying I deserve something. I think that's kind of where the crux of the problem is, because if I say like the nefs or the non-existence part of the nefs is saying I am independent or I deserve this or I can do whatever I want. Like it's saying I can cut the tie between me and my creator and I can act however I want. I'm entitled to act however I want. And this is like evil. This is like non-existent because you are not independent. You are not entitled to act however you want. You are a created being. So there's the evil there. But then so when it comes to good reward, I think saying, oh, I did something good, so I deserve good, is you're falling right back into the idea of non-existence. Like you're saying you deserve something, you're entitled to something. So it's almost a contradiction to say, now I deserve, or I deserve a reward because I did good. And just one more comment I like to make is, like when I think of the multiple choice example, yeah, everything is set up for me to pick the right choice. But then the idea that comes to me is, yeah, okay, there's five, let's say there's four choices. Two of them are like everything is set up for me to pick the right choice. But at the same time, the two wrong choices are so appealing to me. Like they've been made so appealing to me that I want to choose them. And I don't feel it's easy to choose the right choice either. I don't think this is like a question of whether it's difficult or it's easy. Like maybe choosing the right option is actually difficult. But I think I think the real problem is thinking, well, if I do choose the right option, even if it is difficult, thinking I deserve or I'm entitled to reward, because then you're again falling into this idea of I am this being that is maybe independent. I have my own like area, and I deserve a reward. Like it almost seems to be a contradiction.
Jazakallah khairan. Sister Zareen. Sister Zareen had a comment. Yes.
I'm sorry. So I guess yeah, before I go to the comment, I wanted to summarize what I'm understanding so far is that because we asked originally where is this inclination coming from? And at least to me, it seems like it's just the default human state, like, and I guess maybe coming from like the nafs or just the fact that I observe within myself that I want the fastest and easiest way to satisfy my desires. So I guess maybe that also alludes to maybe something we read earlier about like inclining towards evil just seems evil or non-existence or destruction just seems like the easiest way forward. So I guess I just want something that is fast and easy, and I guess that can be observed in like the society around us too, and how we're trying to always find things to make our lives easier. But I guess like I also was thinking that maybe these inclinations just don't seem as clear cut to me sometimes because for example, with the cat, like maybe I really do want to feed it and I can attest to the fact that I'm passing by this cat and this situation is created for me, but another part of me is just like, well, I had a really long day at work. I just want to go home. I'm hungry. Like, I need to feed myself before I can feed the cat. So I guess, like, for me, is it all just like if I'm trying to find, is it all just trying to find excuses, or are there situations where it's really like, I'm sorry, I can't do it? Like, for the example with the captain, like, maybe he has been steering the boat for a long time and he's getting tired, and it's like, I want to keep steering the boat, but I just can't. I need to give it to somewhere else. It's like, it's not that I don't want to keep doing it, but I can't. So I don't know, where is the line between like genuinely not being able to do something good versus like making these excuses, I suppose.
So there's another comment.
I think I don't, yeah, I agree with Aishanur. I don't like that we're kind of like iterating again and again that the nafs is inclined to evil, when at the same time we're supposedly believing that every human being is born with the fitra, and our fitra is good. Like, God has created us, good, but later on we kind of, because of, I don't know, what we experience, society, family, friends, whatever, we get, influenced by all of these things, and then we start doing things that are against our fitra. But the fitra in itself, like, even in the Quran, it's mentioned, like, even every human being is born in the fitra, but his parents make him like a Muslim or a Jewish or a Christian, whatever. So I feel like, I know I mentioned that like before, like in the Quran, it's also mentioned, and we a lot of Muslims repeat that again and again. An-nafsu ammaratul amma, inna an-nafsa la ammaratun bisu. Like, this is what we're repeating here, like, oh, a nafs is inclined to do evil. That's what's mentioned in the Quran. Or like the other ayah, وَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, is God is creating, inspiring me a taqwa, and at the same time is inspiring me al-fujur. I don't know how you translate that, but like, we're translating it as evil, although I don't think that's exactly how it should be translated. So I'm just saying that there's kind of contradiction, between this belief that we are created with the fitra, with the like al-fitra salima, what we call it, like the good fitra, the right fitra, which is we're good, we're inclined to be good, but at the same time we're saying that our nafs is inclined to do evil. So there's like, I feel like there's some contradiction here that needs to be kind of like fixed. What I'm trying, like, what I understand after reading like the ayahs again and again. So when the ayah says, inna an-nafsa la ammaratun bisu'i illa ma rahima rabbi. So, and then what I feel like I'm following Brother Burkan's method, of like trying to make things more relevant to me, like how I understand them to be, and inshallah they are, I don't know, guess they're correct. But like, first of all, I think we have to define again, which we've done before, but I think we're forgetting it. Like, what's evil? When do we say something is evil? And what Norsi says is pertains to non-existence. So like, is killing in itself evil? Is like sleeping in itself evil? Is having a relationship, as you said, like evil? None of this is evil unless there's something pertaining to it. So let's say if we talked about Fajr prayer last time. So I say I'm sleeping. Sleeping is good because Allah also made me, I need to sleep so I can wake up and worship and whatever. And then Fajr comes and I sleep in, or I hear the adhan and I don't wake up. What does that mean? I think that's like so what did I do here that is evil? Because if you mention this to anyone else, they're like, you slept in, it's okay. But like, what you said is behind this is kind of like a denial, because prayer is supposed to remind us, who's creating us, who's like sustaining us, who's giving me this ability to sleep so well and then to wake up and whatever. And then when I choose to sleep and not wake up and remember, this is where the evil is. So this is where like things are pertaining to non-existent. Non-existent means there's no creation, there's no divinity in what I'm doing. in everything. The same, like every sin, so especially for us as Muslims, evil mostly like comes with sins, you know, doing something like evil, it means you're sinning. But what does it mean? It means you're, what you said last time, it means like there's some denial behind the sin, even if it's a small sin. And that's why for us it's evil. And where does it come from? So the idea is that when it says illa ma rahima rabbi, so every time I deny this mercy that is given to me, then I'm kind of like doing something evil. That's what I think, like this nafs denying the mercy. And also we also discussed, I think, this before, like about deserving something. Like when if a baby is born, God forbid, you know, without like an arm, you would say, why? Like you would feel bad, but then you would think about it. Why do I even deserve? And not, like, how do I know that I deserve another arm? So I think we're forgetting the basis, the whole idea of like the existence itself is mercy. Like me being here is mercy. Me being given all of these is mercy because, like, I don't know, I think, I mean, I don't, like, me being able to speak now is mercy because I could also like not be able to speak, right? So I just wanted to put this out there because I was like, took me some time to, you know, put it all together. My brain was gonna explode, but I just felt like we should go back to, you know, to the basics when we discuss first what evil means. And I felt like we're stressing a lot on like our nafs is, you know, wants to do evil, but I don't think that's exactly what. One thing I wanted to say also, like even the fujur, like if we get a bad idea, and then after that you say, oh, astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayk. So is that idea still bad? Because that fujur, the idea led you to actually, you know, asking for repentance or actually asking for forgiveness. So that's also relative. Like that fujur became something that led you to good. So yeah.
So thank you, Sarah. I just want to share what I understand right now, which is and hopefully I'm not repeating myself, but you know, again, I find it very helpful when we think about a multiple choice question, like you open a math exam, the question says, what does 2 + 2 equal? If an answer says anything, if one of the options says 7, you can choose that option, but it doesn't have any representation in reality, right? Like there is no reality of 2 + 2 = 7 out there. I can choose it, but it points to something that is non-existent. And so I think when our nafs or when we have inclinations that suggest certain actions to us, certain choices to us, they're in fact, let's say going to the Fajr example, like, oh, let me sleep in. What's wrong with this? What it's pointing to, if I say, oh, there's nothing wrong with it, is a reality that has no basis, which is that I own my body. I own the ability to sleep whenever I want because sleep belongs to me and energy comes from sleep. Like these are all ideas that have no representation in reality. So if I accept that as true, then I am accepting something that, again, is non-existent, in fact. And so I think how we can understand these like the nafs plays a very important role, or these inclinations towards what we're calling evils or non-existent things is important because they offer me opportunities to reject what is not what has, again, no basis in reality and confirm what is in fact true. I can say, oh no, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 7, it equals 4, right? So when I'm you know, we don't have to give this exact example, but when my body is saying, but I'm tired, the kitten that's about to die can wait, that nafs, there's an inclination there, but that inclination is in fact an invitation, an opportunity for me to affirm the fact that like this body isn't mine, this ability isn't mine, the need to help the cat isn't mine, and in fact going home isn't what's going to give me energy, right? Like to break those causal bonds or relationships that I deem fit in my life, and that if I hear the kitten that I should go help it. It's an opportunity to, in fact, affirm that call to act in a certain way. So, like, again, there's a very pedagogical, if you will, function that is being offered through the existence of the nest, through the way that it points to things that have no existence in themselves, right? Because they have no reality. The options or the worldview that it's offering has no reality in it in general.
And this is just gonna be really short, I guess, just to tie this to like how I was reading the text and like my initial question of like, I cannot be inclined to evil and also inclined to good at the same time, because we were thinking of like we do know what the right answer is, but we're inclined to evil. So that's why I kind of framed it like as what I just said earlier, right? Like we know the answer, but we are inclined to evil. So I think that a very good reason to why we're inclined to evil is what Aisha Noor just said. Like it gives us an opportunity to reject that because we do know the right answer. Like that hasn't been, we're taught. Yeah. Exactly. So that's like, I took that from the way you've been saying that. Like we are taught what's good, with creation or inherently, or I don't really know, but I do know that we know what's good, but then we are also inclined to evil, as in like what pertains to non-existence. So that rejection of what we know is how we're inclined to evil. And I do think it's kind of hard the way it's how we think of it, but it makes sense to me that way.
Jazakumullah khairan. So, you have a comment there? No? Okay, there's another comment.
Going back to
For Khan, right? So in the beginning of the discussion, he asked like, how is it like fair or just like when we are given more than when we deserve? I guess that was like, but I think like if let's say you go, I don't know, I've been thinking about it, but if you go like to a country other than the US, where giving a tip is not like something you have to do, like if you go to the barber shop and someone does your hair and you could give them exactly how much, they owe you. But you could also give them a little more. That doesn't mean you've done something unfair or unjust. You just like been nice, more. So that's what I feel like we all do, I guess, hopefully. Like we could do like the bare minimum, only what's asked from us, but we could also do a little extra. That is not like something I wouldn't say that's unfair or unjust. That's a little more or a little nicer, a little more merciful, I guess. And Allah is known to be like his mercy will precede his what is it, like anger, agony, yeah.
But how about not being nice to other barbers when they do the exact same things? This is the point that I would like to just highlight. So, I do the same deed, Ahmed do the same deed, but I get more reward than Ahmed does. Yeah, Ahmed is a kind of, I'm sorry, Ahmed, it's not pointing to you, but if you are fair, you should be nice to other barbers too when you get the same service, right? So it looks like a kind of kayfi. It's a kind of, how can I say? Yes, moody thing, like not moody for that moment, but just for that person, not the other person. So that's the point that sounds unfair. Yeah, but I say, God knows everything about us, our intentions, conditions, so he can give more to me than others, or more some others, but not to me. That was my, point. I know it's Also, I just wanted to trigger a debate here. Thank you.
Just to make it controversial in the last one moment. Satan thought the same. So you made me out of fire and him out of clay because I had something more than him, you know. It must be that I had something inherently better than him. Otherwise, why would you make me out of fire and him out of clay? So that's a very good idea that the Satan thought about it before you. So you're on the right track. So I don't know. Do you feel like it's the same thing? Because this is what Satan thought, right? Satan is the guy who received more tip in this example.
Yeah.
And he says, I must have done something better that you gave me more, that you paid him less. So it looks like there's something wrong with this thought. Think about it twice. But yeah, I think if you look at it from our point of view, so do I feel like if despite you not owing me anything, zero, like there's no even in the example that Sister Sarah gave, barber offers you some service. So barber deserves something, but on top of this bare minimum, you are tipping more. But in a case where it's not a barber, but it's just a beggar, like you don't own anything to that person. That person is needy. That is the reality. That person is needy. And for that beggar, you go ahead and give them $1. To the other one, you gave $10. So giving those different amounts, is this being unjust? This is the question, right? Because both of them are now favor. One is a $1 favor, the other one is a $10 favor. Is this unjust? Because this injustice is being done in this room. One of them is a political scientist, the other one is a medical doctor. You both are beggars, but you are given different things. Is this unjust? Like, we don't need to really think about reward that's going to be given in the afterlife. How about the reward that's given if you take it as a reward? Or is it just a favor? I mean, nobody owed you becoming a political scientist or you becoming a medical doctor or anything of that sort, right? So in this regard, like you can, starting from what you already have, what you already know, you can extrapolate it to the reward in afterlife, in paradise and whatnot. But you already have something given to you, although nobody owed you anything. You wouldn't say, oh, well, God, you made this guy super smart. You made me a little less smart. How dare you? This is unjust. You don't say that because nobody owed you anything, like even this simple grain of intellect that we have. So in this regard, if you apply this to what seems to be good deeds come out of my hand, this is why relatively the second part was easier. Is there any good deed that's really coming out of my hand? What is my share on it? If I have no share in it, then whatever is going to be given on top of it simply becomes pure favor. I think this part was easy. It is favor. The favor part is easy. And the justice, injustice in favor part is also, I think, relatively straightforward in this regard. The part that is still a question mark, since the author is mentioning it, is this, and I'm not sure if we were thoroughly and completely about to handle it, but the evil part, the multiple choice question and whatnot makes sense because I'm being instructed. But the inclination to evil parts, I think in this regard, I agree with Sister Sarah. We need to go with a little more with Brother Birkan's approach. But we need to do that. Like, I don't think we did it 100% clear. Like all the examples were helpful enough. Jazakumullah khairan. But or there's a part that still I don't understand. But the thing is, if I have an inclination to reject, if this is my default state partially, not wholly, but partially, then am I going to be responsible for giving in to this choice? This is, I think, the part still that's a question mark for me. And I do sense for the doing the good part, I do feel like, yes, it is being given to me. But when it comes to this other aspect of me to, with the example that you gave, actually, I deserve something. I tend to have this feeling, for example, which is although it sounds like an existential statement, it's a denial statement. I deserve something is a denial statement, actually. And I guess everybody in this room more or less have this sort of a feeling, not to the creator on the surface, but to your boss or this or that, right? This feeling. But is this feeling an inclination in my default, or did I spoil it? How much am I responsible for falling in for this mistake? As Sister Aisha said, yes, if I give into this, I feel bad. I am being given this feeling of guilt as a mercy so that I wake up and I don't do this mistake, right? But still, for making the choice itself, because the author is saying that since you chose it, it's all your responsibility. This part still needs a little bit of clarification on my end. Any concluding remarks? Yes, one. Okay.
I think that from most of our comments that I had today, that we don't agree with the statement that our souls are inclined to do harm and evil always. Yeah, in the sentence always. Okay. Yeah, we can talk. So from the ayah in Surah Shams, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Yeah, two options, not just one. And for the ayah إِنَّ النَّفْسَ الْأَمَّارَةُ بِالسُّوءِ, we should take it on the full context in Surah Yusuf about Imrat al-Aziz. She was justifying what wrong deeds that she did before against Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. She said, إِنَّ النَّفْسَ الْأَمَّارَةُ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي.
It's not that. And he says it in two different places. Once before the wife of Aziz, and the other one right before getting out of
his brothers.
Getting out of twice. Like the same verse. This is twice.
Okay. But there was an exemption that not all the souls are أمارة بالسوء, are inclined to do bad deeds, and there's other نفس المطمئنة النفس اللوامة. So we don't have just one option, there's multiple options. And if we have the option right now, the examples that you mentioned before, if we have a crying child or baby, I think that most of us will be inclined to feed him or her, not just to not doing anything. I don't agree with the statement that we are always inclined to do bad deeds. That's my understanding.
I think that's fair. Like always parts, because like that inclination, yeah, let's put a question mark over there. To what extent? Because again, Quran mentions something, or the author in here mentions something, but I need to go and check how much does it apply to me. Is this really the case? So I agree with that much of it, yes. But the question mark is to whatever extent it is there. This was I think the main discussion. Am I worthy the blame? This is the part. Like if I am being made as such, like I guess the basic question in here is, if God didn't give somebody two legs and expects them to run, and if the guy falls down and we say, oh, you're responsible because you don't have two legs, we would say, well, you didn't give me the second leg. How could I run? I guess the basic, simplest version of the question is as such. But this is where we got stuck pretty much. When it comes to inclination for good, we cleared this up. He has given you two legs and everything, so praise goes to him, fine. But if I am given a single leg at some point, or there's some sort of inclination to bad, and I fail, why am I getting the responsibility to fail? This was the part. And again, partially we answered this as well. We said that if I'm instructed with the correct answers and everything with the multiple choice questions, still we also partially answered that question. But I think there's this tiny bit of it which is left behind, which is, how about my inclinations, whether call it my nefs inclination or call it my self's inclination. The reason I'm highlighting this is, in the translation, the word nefs is translated as the self, but it's a separate terminology in and of itself, which is worthy for further conversation as well. But self, the nefs is given to human as another tool. Let's take it as such. This is what Sister Aisha was mentioning. But this tool itself is dragging me in another direction. If I go with the suggestion of this aspect of mine, which drags me in the wrong direction, let's say, then how much responsible am I supposed to be? This is the part. This is the part that we are, inshallah, we'll try to understand next week. Let's think about it. And I think if we clear this up, it's going to be pure, nice, clean. But this part still remains, I believe. جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة